Keep playing.
Welcome back to another episode of Eagles Weekly. Here are your hosts, Brett, Haas, Mac, and Jack. How we feeling, fellas?
All right, welcome back to Eagles Weekly, episode 23. I'm one of your hosts, Brett Ryder, joined today by our ACC athlete, Jack Cyberlick, and a special guest today of WEI and Chick-fil-A's favorite customer, Tom Carroll. Boys, how we doing?
I'm doing great. Jack, I want to understand Brett's intro there. You played something for BC?
Yeah, I guess I should have said this before we started, but I was on. Yeah, I ran a cross country and track.
Okay, yeah, I think that qualifies. ACC athlete. Congratulations.
Yeah. By the slimmest of margins, I think. But yeah,
that's great.
It all counts. He has an athlete profile on the web, so that's all that matters. He's got the headshot.
I played Division III volleyball. Let me see. Am I turning this the right direction? Emerson College, Division III volleyball, baby.
Okay,
there you go.
Just as impressive as ACC track and field / cross country.
Sure is. What's their mascot, Emerson?
The Lions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
very ferocious.
Awesome. Absolutely. I think Bill Curley coaches the basketball team over there.
Yeah, he started my sophomore year as the assistant coach.
Okay.
Jim O'Brien, the former BC head coach, started as the head coach my sophomore year. So he brought Curley aboard, and he was the coach there, I think, 3 or 4 years.
Oh, no kidding.
And he was the man. I got to know him actually really well because Emerson's such a small school. We shared all the facilities. So him and I used to pal around, and I was, a big BC fan. So we used to talk about BC, and every time he saw me, he used to call me the Big Handsome. He's like, "Oh, look who it is, the Big Handsome." So
I'm sure you're like, "Oh, stop it."
Oh no, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was great. It was great. So yeah, little Emerson BC connection. Who'd have thought?
Go Lions, right?
There you go.
And to kind of, I guess, to give the listeners a little bit of background on your new intro as the Chick-fil-A guy, that went around, as we were just talking on the pre-show, like that circulated on the internet, and it's always like the BuzzFeed articles, some random person lost 200 pounds doing just this, and you're just like, okay. Then I see your picture and I'm like, oh my god, I know him. That's my
yeah, it's crazy. So I wrote an essay earlier this year about losing 132 pounds. And one of the main things I did to lose 132 pounds was eating the same Chick-fil-A salad every single day for lunch. So by eating a spicy Southwest chicken salad from Chick-fil-A every single day for lunch in conjunction with some diet and exercise changes, giving up drinking, a few other things, I lost 132 pounds. So I posted the essay. It kind of picked up steam, and seems like every 2 weeks or so, a different media outlet's doing something with the story. So it's been pretty wild.
That's crazy. And so you've been interviewed by a lot of these kind of bigger AP, I guess, type of writers.
Yeah, it's been crazy. The Today Show did a story on it. So that was cool. The New York Post ran a story on it. The people over at the Colbert Show did a few jokes on it.
Oh, get out.
Within one of their segments. So that was funny. Few other places. I mean, I'm losing track at this point. WBZ in Boston came down to the house and did an interview with me. NBC Providence did a thing as well at my house. And then NBC Boston took a piece of the story and turned it into a TikTok that has over 1.5 million views. So it's crazy. I did not think it was going to go as insane as it did, but here we are. And the coolest thing about it is that I wrote the story to help other people that were struggling the same way I was. And it's had that effect. People almost every day reach out to me in my DMs and they say, "Hey, I read your story. This is helping me get on my health journey." Yeah. So that was sort of the main purpose. And for it to have that purpose and then for the media attention to happen which allows more people to read it. It's just been the coolest thing ever.
Yeah. And how do you feel after losing 100, what'd you say, 35 pounds?
132 pounds. Yeah, I feel great. I mean, it's one of those things that when I was that big, I don't think I realized how bad I felt all the time because I was just used to it.
Mhm.
And then once I started having some chest pains and stuff, and I knew it was time to lose weight, that's when I was like, okay, I need to make a change. But now that I'm, past that and healthy, I really do see the difference in my everyday life. It's been really cool. So I encourage anyone that needs to start their health journey or is trying to figure out a way to do it. Just start. Who cares? It's Monday night. Start on a Tuesday. It doesn't have to be a single day of the week. It doesn't have to be, I'll start after this holiday. You can start today, and then if your birthday's in 4 days, you can have one cheat day and then get right back on.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be linear. Just do your thing.
I think that's the thing too, especially when it comes to like being consistent. Like that's probably the biggest, I guess, roadblock for people is like, a lot of people will go hard for it. And I speak for myself for a couple months and then they kind of fall off. And then it's like, whatever, like I'm not doing it anymore. And they just, give up on it, or they get like so burnt out because you just go completely crazy for a couple months and it's just not sustainable. I think for me, it's always been about finding that balance and more so just like lifestyle changes, not just these big, crazy changes just for a couple months to do it. It's like, no, you want to make these changes so you can live like a much better life.
Yeah, it's all about finding a workable routine.
Yeah.
Because then you're able to just stick with that. And then if you have a few bad days, you know that you can always go back to your routine. So that was always a big thing for me is when I would lose weight in the past, I'd immediately put it back on because I would get bored of doing whatever I was doing. So I was happy to finally find something that worked for me. So it's been great.
How long did it take you to lose 132 pounds?
So it was July of 2023 when I stepped on the scale at 360. Okay. And then it was sort of on and off dieting throughout that fall. And then starting on Black Friday of 2023, that's when I had kind of like my biggest chest pain health scare, so to speak.
Yeah.
So a couple days after that is when I started eating the salads and sort of went from there. And then by the following fall, like September of 24, I was down 132 pounds. So little over a year, but also like I didn't really start going hard the first few months of that year. So it's really like 8 months, if you will. So it's pretty wild. I mean, I know it's not going to be as fast for other people.
Yeah.
That's one thing that people are like, man, I can't do that in that short of time. It's like, that's okay. You don't have to do it in that short of time. Like do what you have to do. So it's been really cool to like become helpful to people in that way. I just never thought I would be that guy in my life. I mean, why would I ever think that? I was always a big guy that, it's like, wasn't my thing. And then out of nowhere, I'm like this like health influencer type guy. And it's like, I never expected that. So, it's been one of the coolest things ever, man. And, all the Chick-fil-A people at my restaurant have been so cool. And, I love it. It's been awesome. I got a salad waiting in the fridge for me for tomorrow. So
I love that.
Keep it rolling.
It's funny too, because I just looked up your profile on Emerson. And
my athlete profile?
Yes,
oh man, I did not even know that still exists. Okay.
Yeah. And
what are we looking at here?
You were a big boy back then too.
Oh yeah. I've been a big guy a long time.
Yeah. It's too bad. It's too bad you weren't in school now. You could have got a nice NIL deal from Chick-fil-A.
That's right. Yeah. I maybe would have been a D2 volleyball player instead of D3.
Yeah.
That's great. What does the athlete profile say? I don't even know.
Let's see. 2014 men's volleyball, number 78, Tom Carroll, 6'2". Look, I mean, they did you a favor. They left your weight off. Just says 6'2".
Yeah. That was me. That, by the way, like that was me as a big guy, just not listing my own weight.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I just didn't fill it in, so they didn't put it. So when you're a big guy, like you avoid those things.
Yeah. You're like, I don't know.
I didn't know. I physically didn't know.
You're like, I do know I'm 6'2", so you can put that.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tom, I'm reading these they have your career statistics on here, and I don't know what
Okay.
any of these abbreviations mean.
Okay.
You have 1K. Is that a kill?
1 kill. Yeah, that's probably wrong. I don't even remember ever getting a kill. I didn't play front row. I was a serving specialist.
Okay.
So I was listed as a setter, but I never really ever was the setter because my freshman and sophomore year we had a junior and senior setter, and then when it came time to be my junior year, they had brought in a freshman that was really
Sure.
freaking good. Who I'm tight with. He's one of my really good buddies from college, and then he ended up being the setter my last 2 years of college. So I found my way into the rotation eventually my senior year.
Okay.
But yeah, so again, sorry to cut you off one stat into, but I wanted to make sure I'm getting ahead of it before people are like,
Oh
"This
yeah, I
guy
mean it
sucked."
looks like your minutes really went up from you have 3 SPs to 47 SPs. I assume that's playing time or something, or
Sure, I'm actually
not
sure
not
what
sure that
SPs
not sure that
means
means.
either. So
You got 2 E's, 4 TAs, uh, 5
I don't know
A's.
I don't know what any of these mean either. I know
Yeah,
assists.
I
That's
think
assists.
A's might be assists. I think.
Yep.
Sounds
Uh,
about
That makes
right.
sense.
bunch.
That makes sense.
You really stuck the stat sheet. I don't know what the stats are though. That's the thing. So it could be anything. But
Yeah, man. I mean, I was definitely a glue guy. I wasn't gonna be a
What?
record-setting volleyball
everyone,
player.
every team needs a glue guy.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
So
had to be somebody.
I loved it. I mean, 4 years NCAA athlete. No one can take that away from me. And honestly, my
Yeah.
best friends from college are my teammates. And I'm sure you're kind of in the same boat. Like those are dudes that you went to war with. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
I love it.
Were you guys were a lot of you and your teammates, were you guys big BC guys while you were in school there, like following the team and stuff like that?
So that's a good question. Me and one other guy on the volleyball team were massive BC fans.
Mhm.
And then a few other casuals. Like I know one of my other buddies is more casual, but he does root for BC. And then another guy I can think of is from Newton. So he has some BC, connection there. But
Mhm.
really it was like me and one other guy were really big BC fans. But the big Emerson athlete connection to BC, and a bunch of small schools around Boston do this, and you guys might know this, but the listeners might not. So when you're in the concession area at any of these sporting events, a lot of times, especially at the football games, it's run by athletes for small schools around Boston. They come to BC and they work at the games, and it helps raise money for the athletic programs for the smaller schools. So I actually worked they wanted me to probably do more, but I was too focused on partying and having a good time on our off season. But I think I ended up working at like 2 BC games just because I wanted to go to the games as a BC fan. But then I didn't do that many because I realized you actually have to work during the games. You can't just chill and watch the game. And I specifically remember it was UMass at BC in like I want to say maybe 2012, and I was working a drink stand, and so it was outside, and I thought I was going to be able to watch the game. I was like, yeah, I picked this one specifically. I got a sick. Not at all. Didn't get to watch a single second, and my hands were freezing because I was sticking it in the tub of ice. I hated it. It was one of the worst days of college. But yeah, so that's kind of like my BC Emerson athletics connection. Like there wasn't a ton of BC diehards. It was just me and my buddy who's from Millis. He like grew up with those like Craig Smith, Jared Dudley teams. So he fell in love with BC hoops and BC football, kind of the same way I did. Although my dad went to BC, so I was kind of born into this. So that's kind of my curse. I love it. I mean, it's a blast to be a BC fan because when you're in Boston and you're around my age, I'm 32, you grow up with all these teams being awesome. So it's nice to be a fan of a program that's sort of an underdog, right? So you can kind of like feel that chip on your shoulder and kind of have that going for you too. It kind of humbles you a little bit. But I look, and I know we're going to transition here into some BC chatter here in a second. The program is on the up and up. It's legit. Like Bill O'Brien is building a beast, and I would not bet against these guys making real noise in the ACC over the next few years. It's legit.
It was nice too. It was sorry, Jack, just 1 second, but it was nice too with like you coming into the press box this year, especially with like me and Mac, who like, we're diehard BC fans. And it's like when you're in the press box, you can't, you have to kind of put your professional hat on. So it was nice having you as an addition to really kind of like, with like the quiet claps and like the pounds under the table,
Yeah.
So like that was definitely a valued addition there.
And I told you guys, I think I mentioned this to you guys in the press box. Like, of all the teams I cover for WEEI, BC is the one where I allow myself to still be a fan while I'm covering them, because it again, you have that underdog mentality, and that's just never going to go away. Like, I want them to win so badly, because I've seen all the other teams that I grew up rooting for win, right? I'd love for BC to one day go on a Final Four run or win the ACC in football, or, BC hockey's always been great. I'd love for them to finish the deal here in the next few years. That's been kind of an issue, but I allow myself to still put the fan hat on while also trying to be fair in what I write for the website and when I make appearances on shows talking about BC. But I had quiet little fist bump under the table. Absolutely. I'm all about that.
What are we saying?
Yeah, you two are better men than me, because I had the privilege of going down to Duke for an away game against BC. And I was not.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I was not.
Were you like the only guy in Cameron?
Yeah, I was the only guy. I was the only guy not wearing blue on that sideline, which is
I forgot.
I had the crazies right behind me. It was nuts, and so my heart was on my sleeve for that one, but which I'm sure they didn't like. But Tom, I did want to ask. So I mean, you grew up a BC guy. That's your kind of your underdog team. How does that, now that you're WEI, how does that function? Like, you're like a BC guy within the context of a network that's so focused on like all these great pro teams, where BC can kind of be on the back burner. So how do you see, like, how does BC get treated within like that kind of context for you? Like, how does that look?
It's a good question. So, the bulk of my day to day, in fact, let's call it 99% of it, is focused on Patriots, Red Sox, Celtics, Bruins, and making content for EEI's brand, whether it's social content or written content, or, talking on shows when I need to about those teams. But going in, I was hired for this job last July. I knew that EEI was the flagship for BC athletics, obviously, as a BC fan and just sort of living in the area. I knew that. So I knew that I wanted to try to do what I could to help highlight BC as much as I could with one of the two big sports brands in the city. So I made sure to get in touch with the SID over at BC at the time and let him know, hey, I'd love to get a full season credential. If I could get an all event credential, I'd love to be up there as much as I can. I can't promise that we're going to be doing everyday coverage on the website, because, I'm not going to be able to dictate content like that. And, to be fair, our audience is coming to us for, they expect hats, socks, all that stuff. So we only have so many resources, but I knew I could commit to at least doing game stories on Saturdays during football season, and then using our social media on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter as a way to, get clips out there and kind of keep the BC athletics conversation going, connected to the EEI brand as much as I could. Because again, it's not like I could be writing up every BC basketball and hockey game, even though BC hockey is awesome. It's just not what people are on our site for typically. Now, look, if all of these programs end up becoming perennial powers, I'm sure that will shift. But you got to win to get eyeballs in the city. I think Bill O'Brien has said that, multiple times when people have talked to him about, how do you make BC matter more in the city? He's like, look, we got to win. And if we win, people will come. And that's real. Like I remember when, the Matt Ryan era and really even the years leading up to that, the Tom O'Brien era. I mean, people cared about BC in a real way locally. Like it still wasn't, a big four, if you will, right? The main teams always were going to be the main teams, but like I think, and really the fact that the Tom O'Brien football era coincided so well with the Jared Dudley, Craig Smith teams, the Al Skinner era, BC really owned some real estate in the Boston sports media landscape for a hot minute there. And I think that if that happened today, it would be even bigger just because there's so many more avenues for these things to get covered and be consumed. And, like college students and people that are college age in a weird way kind of dictate what ends up being cool online, right? I guess that's not weird to say. Like young people kind of set the standard on that front. Like what's trendy is going to be what the younger people like. So if BC is really good and college students are super into it and they're talking about it on their TikToks and Instagrams and, sharing all their stuff and interacting with it and engaging with it, it's just going to get more and more media attention. So I think there is a real opportunity for BC to really grab even more real estate in Boston as they continue to build this thing. Year 2 of BOB, I think can be a really special one from from sort of a focus from the Boston fan standpoint. If they can go out, I mean, like if they can beat Notre Dame, right? Like that's going to matter a lot, right? So
exactly,
that's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah. Oh, Brett, you're muted.
He's trying.
Can you hear me now?
He's here.
We got you.
There we go. Zoom world problems. Well, I was just saying, like, you're spot on with that, and I think it'll bring a lot of people back in who, were casual fans back in the early to mid 2000s who would gladfully welcome college football and college basketball kind of into their rotation, where they really haven't had any reason to stick with it over the past 15 years.
It's been tough. Yeah.
It's been hard, especially for like basketball. There's no reason to kind of stick around, and I think a lot of people, especially in the New England area, have more so just gone to be, if they're basketball fans, they're just college basketball fans.
Yeah. Like they're rooting for their bets, that's what it's really become. So I'm with you. And like the way that March Madness is so dominant in the month of March, really those first 2 weeks of March, like that tells you that when college basketball is exciting, people will get into it. And like, I live in Rhode Island. I grew up in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
College basketball is massive in our small little state. There's only a million people here, but like the bulk of the people that I know that are like from Rhode Island, born and bred and went to PC or URI, they care way more about PC and URI hoops than like anything else.
Yeah.
Legitimately. Like they care more about PC's recruiting class than like who the Pats drafted at number 4 overall. Mm-hmm. Like that's real. So that type of regional passion is there if you give them something to, follow and really fall in love with.
And, we were younger. Like I was probably 13, 14, 15 in the early 2000s when BC basketball was relevant. But like those games were always packed. Like even those out of conference kind of bye games, they were packed. And the student sections under both baskets were always packed. And it was a sea of gold. And same with football. Like football, the stadium was full. Like I've looked at statistics from attendance wise from back then, just out of sheer curiosity. They were selling out just about every game.
Yeah. I mean,
like, it was a big deal.
It was a big deal. And it, again, back to what Bill O'Brien has said, if they win, people will come watch. Like, remember early in the football season when the team was 4-1, 5-1 to start the year. And like there was real buzz at the stadium. Like those were some fun game days. The Red Bandana game in 2024 was one of the most fun nights I've had covering Boston sports in my career. I mean, that was an absolute blast.
I couldn't agree more.
It was that there's something there to harness and take advantage of once BC gets everything going in the direction it needs to. And I think the right people are in place power structure wise around the college to see that happen over the next few years.
Have you been able to get to any practices this year?
No, unfortunately, I haven't been able to go to spring practice, which absolutely stinks. I've been reading a lot about it. I'm very excited about Dylan Lonergan. But no, I haven't been able to get to spring practice. They've just kept me so busy with the Pats, and Celtics are really good, right? Yeah. We are the Red Sox flagship. That's sort of our baby. So I try and get up to Fenway as much as possible. March Madness, I was down here covering that. Providence had a regional, so that was another long, fun weekend. So no, I have not been able to go to spring practice, but obviously care deeply about how the team looked and sort of who's going where positionally for the fall.
Yeah, Brett, I just want to chime in here. I mean, we talked about a little bit going back to the conversation about capturing the attention of the the Boston sports fan. I think, Brett, you and I have talked about it so much. The reason why Bill O'Brien was such that home run hire is that he gets it way more than any other coaching candidate would. Like he came in so ready to be Boston College's coach. Like his wife went here. He's here at the Pats. So I think if anyone understands what it takes to get eyes on Boston College, it's going to be him.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you guys brought practice, because I mean, I know Brett and I've been itching to talk some ball with you, Tom. So do you have any get into that a little bit? I know you mentioned Lonergan. Do you have any hesitancy there? Because I know Grayson James kind of came on last year as a starter. Me and Brett have been going back and forth on this. So where do you do you have a strong opinion there about the established Grayson James versus the newcomer Lonergan?
So I liked Grayson down the stretch. It did take him a few weeks to kind of settle in, but once he did, it was legit, and you could see the talent. I mean, by the end of the season, it was almost like you wished BC had like 4 more games that year, right?
Yeah.
I was like, man, if he had just been the guy from the jump, maybe things play out a little differently in that mid-season slump they had that ultimately kind of sunk the chances they had of playing in maybe a bigger bowl game. So like all the credit in the world to Grayson James for the season he had, given the circumstances that he was dealing with. And I know he was injured during training camp last year. And I know I'm sure he's a friend of the pod, Kevin Stone. He was telling me all throughout training camp, he's like, I think this guy has a chance to unseat Tommy. And I thought he was crazy because obviously Tommy had the year that he had prior.
And he was just an incredible athlete. Yeah.
So, but then I was at camp and I saw Grayson throw the ball. I'm like, okay, I see what you're talking about. And then finally he got the opportunity. He got enough reps. He got the rust off and he looked great. With that said, from talking with Kevin and other guys that cover the team, Lonergan is like special. Like they have watched him this spring and they're like, oh, okay. Like it makes sense why this guy was at Alabama. He is a special talent. And I don't think that a guy like that transfers here, having the pre-existing relationship he has with Coach O'Brien, without not an expectation that he's going to get the starting job, but with an idea of I'm going to have a chance to win this job. Like, it's going to be a real competition. It's not just Grayson's job. And if he gets hurt, then go ahead. Or, Grayson is going to play this year and then, it's going to be your job the following season. I think that Dylan Lonergan is going to have a real opportunity to compete for the job. And I think O'Brien has mentioned that on multiple occasions since getting the head coaching job at BC. Like, competition is really important. And like, if you show up and you compete at practice and you win the job, there's no sacred cows. Like, if he comes in and he shows out, he'll be the guy week 0 or week 1 or whenever they play first this season. I don't have the schedule in front of me, but like, I think BC's in really good shape from that standpoint. Like, they have 2 dudes that I think Eagles fans should feel really good about. If week 1, week 0, they're the guy, like, I think that BC's in a really good position to stack wins early in the year.
I think, and it's a great point you bring up, and that's always kind of been my, I guess, opinion, was like, he didn't transfer from Alabama to, sit on a bench here. Like, if you're going to be a backup, you probably stay at Alabama, right? And he had offers from Georgia and another pretty big school. So it's like,
and he's from Georgia. So like,
yeah, right.
He came here for a reason.
Right. Yeah. And it's like you said, it's like, if you get recruited and commit and play at Alabama for a couple of years, that's something. That's not nothing.
Yeah. I mean, you look at all these Alabama guys, like all these depth charts for Alabama over the last almost 2 decades of like these position groups, and they're just stacked with NFL guys. Like some of these receiver rooms, and I know people joke about Mac Jones now, but like Tua, Jalen Hurts, Mac Jones was one
crazy quarterback room.
Like that's for college football. That's insane. Yeah. Like, and on the defensive side of the ball, it's even crazier. Right. So like Alabama is always constantly stacked. Like their running back rooms have been insane over the years. Like Alvin Kamara had to transfer away from Alabama because he couldn't get playing time. Like it's crazy. So the fact that he was there tells you everything you need to know about sort of the talent that the college football world feels like he has. And I think the fact that O'Brien made it a point to get him up to Boston tells you that he thinks he can help this team. And O'Brien, again, not to keep belaboring the point, he wants to build a winner. He knows how important winning is going to be to get this program to the next level. So if he feels like the guy that he put a lot of work in to get from Bama to BC is going to help him win more so than Grayson James, and Dylan Lonergan wins the job, he's going to be the guy, regardless of what Grayson did down the stretch in 2024.
Bill's also a quarterback whisperer too. If you look at all the quarterbacks he's worked with, it's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, I know people don't want to talk about Deshaun Watson in any sort of positive light anymore. Mm-hmm. So I understand that. Mm-hmm. With that said, Bill O'Brien helped that guy become a top 3-5 quarterback in the NFL. He also helped Tom Brady have some of his best offensive seasons in the NFL. I mean, the early part of that dynasty was a defensive heavy team, right? And once McDaniels was the OC in 2007 when Brady really popped off. But that 2011 team with O'Brien at the OC spot, they set records. Like they were a dominant offensive team in that 2 tight end set. So yeah, I mean, the guy, we all know his bona fides. Like he's a very good offensive coach. Quarterbacks like playing for Bill O'Brien. So those guys, James and Lonergan, are in good hands with O'Brien. And I think he said at the pro day, they have 100 years of NFL experience combined on their coaching staff. Like those are some legit dudes to be around if you want to get to the next level. Yeah. Pro day was awesome, by the way. I mean, I should have mentioned that as a part of sort of me trying to help get EEI with the BC coverage. Got a lot of good engagement from being there that day. It was cool to see. I mean, all 32 teams were there. And I think as BOB continues to build the program, there's going to be more and more NFL guys that are going to be at Chestnut Hill that teams are going to be interested in. So the fact that 32 teams were there, I think that's going to become, I think Ezaraku talked about it on the pro day. That's going to become more of the norm than the abnormality for BC, which is exciting.
Yeah, I mean, last week when Brett, I talked to Kevin, Kevin Stone, his whole thing was BC is great, the stadium's great, but big time recruits aren't going to come to BC to play in front of 30,000 fans in the stadium. They come here to get to the NFL, and we talk about the coaching staff that you have between O'Brien, Applebaum, that whole staff, the 100 years that you mentioned, Tom, and then look at the last week's NFL draft. I mean, 3 guys got drafted, 3 more guys got picked up by teams as undrafted free agents. Like 6 guys from last year's team are going to be playing on NFL rosters. So I think building that sort of image that sort of reputation for your program is like another thing that, an O'Brien type hire is getting you. So I think if BC can really establish itself as, that sort of NFL factory, so to speak, of the Northeast, then, that's just going to be one more way that you hope that they can kind of turn the tide on this thing.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I wrote about it actually today for EEI's website, a rare off-season BC football article from your boy here. And I put it at the end of the piece. I said, with O'Brien bringing in both an impressive recruiting and portal class for 2025, Eagles fans are excited about the prospect of this NFL draft tradition. Oh, man. Was Wiggy just talking? Did you guys just hear Wiggy?
No.
Did you guys hear that too? Okay, good. Wait, I'm going to continue to read this then. Sorry, the clip.
Keep going.
The clip was playing.
I got you with the little video.
Yeah. So I don't want that to bleed over for you guys. Nothing against Wiggy here. All right, here. I just muted it. I hope that works. Let's start over. We're live, people. With O'Brien bringing in both an impressive recruiting and portal class for 2025, Eagles fans are excited about the prospect of this NFL draft tradition continuing for years to come. The more players you put in the league, the more talent you will be able to attract to the program. More talent in theory equals more wins. More wins in theory equals more eyeballs. More eyeballs in theory equals even more talent coming your way. The NFL pipeline for BC will continue to be crucial as O'Brien makes his mark on the program. So he knows that too. I mean, whenever he talks, he makes a point to mention how much NFL influence there is on that coaching staff around that program. Brett, I don't know how much you were at practice or training camp throughout last season, but there were NFL dudes around all the time. Like even guys that didn't play for BC would be showing up. I remember Brian Hoyer was there a lot, and I thought that was strange, but it makes sense. Like he just wants that NFL feel, that professional feel around, because that's what's going to help set BC apart. And that he needs to be creative, and he understands the type of athlete that is going to be a BC guy. So you target those guys and you make sure that there's a pool of schools that probably all pick the BC guy, right? Your Stanfords, your Cals, your Notre Dames, your Dukes, kind of like those academic first programs, but also have big D1, football and basketball that they want to support.
Yeah.
That's kind of your pool that you're going up against. And now that Stanford and Cal are in the ACC, it kind of hurts, right? It hurts that. But you're battling with them for recruits. What's going to help push you over the top over a Stanford or a Cal? If you can tell them, hey, Julian Edelman is going to be here during training camp, and you can learn, off the record stuff from him about things. Or, hey, I have Tom Brady on the line here. Do you want to talk to him for 10 minutes? Those types of things are going to put you over the top. And when you can continue to point to these guys getting drafted every year out of BC, even when the program hasn't been upper echelon in years, they're still producing guys. I mean, Luke Kuechly received an honor late in the year. I think he was getting honored for making the College Football Hall of Fame the year before. He came to BC this fall to receive his certificate, and they did a whole thing. Like, that guy was nearly a first ballot Hall of Famer with only playing 7 seasons in the NFL. Like, he's an absolute stud. And in talking with him, he like wants to help out and like be someone that can, you know, be called upon to help where he can. I mean, he lives in North Carolina and he works on the Panthers broadcast. So like he's busy, but like he loved being there. Like he told me he wishes he could be up there more. So like really taking advantage of the NFL connection that this program has, both with the head coach and the guys that are in the league currently. It's gonna help a lot, and it should, right? Like, the reason why you go to college is because you want to hone your craft for what you want to do professionally, in theory, right? Like, I went to school for journalism because I wanted to work in sports media. If you're going to school to play football, it's because you want to be a professional football player. So I think BC can help continue to kind of make that a focus, and we'll see where this thing goes. I'm excited. If you can't tell, I'm very excited about Bill O'Brien and everything he's been doing.
I mean, it shows too, right? Like, I talk about it all the time. You look at like their pregame warm-ups and how professional it looks, from the way they come out of the tunnel, for the way they line up and stretch and warm up. It's incredible. Like, it's very, very it's like rigid, and it's got a form to it. Whereas in the past, it's kind of been all over the place or whatever. It looks like an NFL run program now. Like,
and Brett, like, you were at, I think, every home game, right? You probably noticed this too. Those sidelines pregame filled to the brim with high school students.
Yep.
Like, O'Brien is not sleeping. Like, this guy is working his tail off to not only run a professional operation at Alumni Stadium, but he's also going down the sideline and shaking the hand of every recruit that shows up. And it's like 50 yards worth of recruits, 2 rows, like every home game. Like, I remember, because part of my job, you know, big bulk of my job is social media, right? So pregame, I like to get the video of the Eagle walk into the stadium. Those always do really well for us engagement wise. And I forget which game it was. Might have been the Louisville game. For whatever reason, I think it was a night game, right? So maybe that just breeded me being there at a certain time where all these kids were getting there at the same time with their parents.
A Friday night game too.
Okay, so maybe that's what it was. But like 6 different kids with their parents came up to me and were like, "Hey, where do we go if we're, you know, a high school student that's here for recruit, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, I had to just keep saying, I'm like, I don't work for the team. I don't know, but the Yaki Center is like that way. They might, but like, that's just emblematic of everything that he's doing in addition to the stuff day to day at BC. He's also really focused on the big picture. And I think that the recruiting class he had this year really showed it.
He had, I think it was like 128 recruits at the Red Bandana game. Something
that's crazy.
Bananas like that. Yeah. Like, I didn't, like, where do you get 128 people to say yes?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And be there all at the same time. It's
crazy.
Yeah, thank God they won that game.
I know.
That was a fun night, man. What a
in
game.
In the way that they did too, especially. That was so awesome.
That was really fun. That was cool.
That was, I was down on the sideline for when they came out of the tunnel and did the pregame. Like, because usually once they kind of go back in, that's when I go up to the box. But for whatever reason, I think I was talking to someone and I just was on the field still, like on the sidelines. And then they start playing like the music, and I was like, oh shit, like they're getting ready to come out of the tunnel. Like, when I was just there. So I stayed there, you know, like, what am I gonna do? Like,
Yeah, honestly, like next season, maybe I should like get more aggressive with like standing on the field when they do their like run on the field with that pyro and stuff. Like those would be great videos.
It was
social.
cool. Yeah, it was cool. I did get a video of it. It was pretty friggin' sweet, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And these iPhone cameras, man, are legit. Like you get a cool video like that, it looks like super professional, and people love engaging with that stuff.
Oh my God. And it's my best, I would say my best social media posts that get the most engagement are just like little random videos that like I would, I'm just kind of taking and throwing up like, oh, this might work. And then it like blows up. And it's like, I never have the intention of like, oh yeah, this is gonna smack. Like,
yeah. It's funny you mentioned that, because I think maybe because I post videos all the time from all the things I'm covering. It's part of my job.
Right.
I think maybe one of the top 5 most watched and engaged with pieces of content I put out since starting this job last July was week 2 for BC. The Duquesne game, post game. I'm sitting in the press conference with Coach O'Brien, and during the game, a buddy of mine, actually my friend who also was in love with BC from the Emerson volleyball team, had texted me and said, he mentioned like in passing about how on the TV broadcast, they mentioned that BC's coaches had showed the players video of FCS teams beating FBS teams to be like,
remember that,
or it's, what, it was the other way around. They showed them video of FBS teams destroying FCS teams. And they were like, this is what you need to do on Saturday. Like, this is what we want to go out there and do. Because typically before those games, it's like, you're showing them the App State upset against Michigan, right? You're like, we don't want to be these guys. Instead, it was the mentality of like, we want to be these guys that are dominating. So I thought that was really interesting and was different, right? And I guess I think it was actually the broadcaster said it was Tommy Castellanos that told them that the coaches did that in hindsight. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, I'm going to ask O'Brien about this post game. So I was like, hey, so they mentioned on the TV broadcast that you guys did this. And he just cut me off. He's like, what are you talking about? Like, I didn't do that. I don't even know the difference between FBS, FCS, NCIS, CIA.
I remember that.
Yeah. And so he just like shut it down immediately, which like I get to a degree on his end. Like there is a little bit of, I don't know, tone to showing your team dominating other teams and be like, let's be the team that dominates. It kind of shows a little bit of a disrespect to the opponent, right?
Yeah.
But he just absolutely shut it down, right? That thing, I did not expect that to blow up the way it did. And in my defense, I had my friend send me the audio from the TV. I was like, I need to make crystal clear sure that this was actually said before I ask him about this. And I heard it with my own ears. So, but yeah, he shut it down immediately. And that thing blew up. And it just goes back to like, people will buy in and enjoy BC content if it's there and if it's worth consuming. And like Bill O'Brien going on a hilarious rant about FCS, FBS, like it won for me that day. And like, I think it even got kind of eaten up into like the Penn State football Twitter sphere. And that's kind of what helped blow it up even more. Cause obviously Penn State fans have an affinity for his time at Happy Valley. So, it's fun when you can find those moments and it helps the program. And again, I always kind of have the fan hat on, right? Like I want this program to do well. And like videos like that are going to help the program.
I remember seeing that clip from a couple different, I guess, publications or whatever.
I think like Awful Announcing picked it up. There were, And they of course, the headline made it seem like way worse than it was. It was like Bill O'Brien denies blah blah. It's like, no, like he's just having fun with it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I got a video that was in Bro Bible one time because it was the Holy Cross game last year, and I got a video. It was when the game like got stopped, and so I was on the field. I don't even remember how it was like the first or second game I ever covered from the media.
How does Brett just keep ending up on the field? Like, I don't understand this.
It's kind of like the hapless wanderer. Like I just kind of end up places, act like I belong. No one questions me.
That's it, man. Act like you belong. Then ask for forgiveness later.
And I'll tell you what. So they come there. So it's when they postpone the game with like 3 minutes left. The Holy Cross players go running in the locker room. So I'm like, I have the camera on them, and they see the camera. So they're like, some of them are like talking shit to the camera. Like one random guy was like ACC, like basically scoffing BC.
Yeah.
And what's his name? Matthew Sluka, the quarterback. He said, he didn't say, so he said something along the lines of like, watch this shit as he's running by. But because it was clipped and because it was so quick, it sounded like he said like fuck BC or something.
Oh, okay.
So that blew up and everyone was like, this mother, so all that. But then that ended up in Bro Bible, and that was like the first time that anything's ever been. And I had only been doing this for like a month at that point.
Yeah, that's
like,
funny.
And
sometimes you just catch a moment, man. Yeah. I've had a few of them since grabbing this job at EEI. Like the big, I think maybe my biggest one. I was covering the Four Nations.
Oh wow!
Which was so cool, and it was after the game. I think Canada and the US had already both clinched a spot in the final, or maybe Canada needed to win the game right before to officially clinch the spot. I think I forget, because really, let's be honest, we only really cared about the final, right? But it was the game before the final. Canada had won, and I'm in the Canada locker room, and Marchand is there, obviously, and he's answering questions. He's doing a press conference scrum, and it's all very like tournament focused, all the questions. And I'm thinking through the lens of, I work for WEI. How can I make this a Boston centric piece of content? So I asked him, like, right as it was the last question, I'm like, hey, Brad, when a tournament is getting buzzed the way this is, and, you guys are going as hard as you're going, can this give you guys like some juice for the last part of the season? Can this help give the Bruins some juice? Because there's a lot of Bruins playing in the tournament. And he was like, I don't know, man. I don't know, dude. I'm not really focused on that right now. Like, he kind of shut me down. I think it was genuine. Like, I just think he sort of wasn't ready for that question. He had just played a game. I don't think he was being a dick.
Yeah.
And I also don't think my question was all that stupid, right?
Yeah.
Given what I was trying to accomplish there. Posted it. Blew up. Like, I still get likes to this day on that video. And it's all like half of the comments are, you're an idiot. Why would you ask that question? WEI hates the Bruins. Like, oh, blah, blah, blah. What a moron. And the rest of them are like, Marchand hates this guy clearly, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you guys have no idea how any of this works.
Yeah.
He doesn't hate me. He doesn't even know who I am. Like, Marchand has a million mics and cameras in front of his face all the time. So, yeah, it's just another example. Like, when you catch that moment, you never know, right? But that's why it's good to be in these situations, because then when you are there for it, it can kind of click and work,
It's good or bad too, because like it blows up and maybe you look a little stupid, but it's still exposure. It's still
good content. Yeah, it's still good content. Like, another time, and now we're just trading more stories, but I cover the Patriots sort of as like my main gig, and I decided to go down to New York to cover the Jets game, which was a Thursday night. And post game, the Pats had lost. They got blown out. It was ugly. and it was before Drake May had won the starting job or been given the starting job. So I had said to myself before that game, regardless of the result, I mean, I guess not regardless. Like if the Pats had come out and won or dominated, this would have changed. But I was like, basically, regardless of what happens, I'm going to go to Aaron Rodgers' post-game press conference and I'm going to ask him about Drake May, because obviously Aaron Rodgers had his career start in a very similar fashion, not very similar, but like, started on the bench, took him 3 years to get the starting job, right? Yeah. Drake May was obviously only 5 games and wasn't exactly playing behind Brett Favre. So I went to Rodgers' post-game presser. Very last question. Because again, like the New York media, like it's clear that like they have a certain cadence and like those are the guys that are always asked these questions in this order and yada, yada, yada. So it's like ending and I'm like, oh crap. Like I sitting here, I need to say something. So I'm like, Aaron, what advice would you give to Drake May? And as I'm asking the question, and again, I have my phone out, I'm recording, he kind of looks out of the side of his eye and he's like, he can tell that he doesn't recognize me. And so he just starts walking. Like he's just like not answering the question. And as he's walking into the locker room, he just says, like, not even looking towards me, like as he's walking in the locker room, he goes, that's a personal question. And like walks into the locker room. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. And I thought for a second, I'm like, oh man, like I screwed the pooch on this one. Like I didn't get anything. I drove all the way down to New York and I did not get a single piece of video content to work with. But then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to post this. Like, it's actually kind of funny. And again, like it's probably behind the Marchand thing, the second most thing that's ever been engaged with. And those comments are great too. It's like, this is a stupid question. EEI stinks. I was also getting a lot like, this is fake. Like this is dubbed in, this is AI, which I'm like, what the heck? And maybe that's because I was in the Aaron Rodgers sphere of things. So there's all sorts of conspiracy theories.
The weird side of the internet that you're.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, again, I got stories like this. We can just keep going, but like, there's all sorts of examples like this,
It's funny because it's like, if it really was AI or dubbed in, it's like, wouldn't you dub in a better?
Yeah, why would I do AI to make myself look stupid? It doesn't make any sense. It's hilarious.
Jack had a bit of controversy over the winter, media wise. It didn't blow up.
Yeah, it was more the Boston College basketball level controversy, more so than.
I'd love to hear it.
The New York Jets. Basically, well, I'm sure you're following BC. You know that this past year is not the best for the BC basketball team. So I similar to you, we were going into the UVA game, and I said, similar to what you said, Tom, I said, regardless of the result, I'm going to ask about Coach Grant's job security. And I feel like any self-respecting Power 5 team going through the past that BC was, because I think they were like 2-12 or something in the ACC, and
Virginia was pretty bad too when they got
and for Tom, I don't know how familiar you are with the ACC post realignment, but basically starting this past year was the first year that it was not an automatic bid into the conference tournament. So BC didn't make the conference tournament. Virginia, who they lost to by 20 points in this game, also was not slated to make the conference tournament. I think they snuck in, but basically they lost to a terrible Virginia team. Mm-hmm. So I asked, hey, Coach, have you heard anything regarding your future with the program?
Did he get mad?
He didn't blow up at me.
He's not that type of guy.
No, and he's super nice. Like Brett can attest. Like we followed him last season, this season. Very nice man. Don't always agree with his coaching decisions, obviously, but yeah. So he gave me not a nothing answer. He said, "Oh, Blake James. That's for Blake James to answer, not for me to answer." Blah blah blah.
That's the right diplomatic way to answer that if he doesn't want to get confrontational. Yeah.
Yeah. So then I don't want to say too much, but I get a call 2 days later from one of the higher ups, and they were not happy with me. So that was in terms of my circle of media covering BC basketball. It's about as touchy as it gets. But
look, man,
yeah,
that's
a
the
funny
game.
that was a funny little story.
That can happen
sometimes.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
schools and professional teams, they are looking for allies in the media, if you will.
Mhm.
And, a school like BC is probably expecting, a guy that works for an outlet like yours to be, carrying the water at all times. But it's also like,
yeah,
that's not what this is.
We carry plenty of water for Earl Grant over the years.
Exactly.
But,
exactly.
Yeah.
So
that was a fun little back and forth we had.
That happens, man.
Yeah.
It's funny too, because Jack texted me like during the game and he's like, I think I'm just gonna ask about his job security. And I was like, dude, honestly, rip it. Go for it.
Because that was coming out. We lost that game by 20. I think we just got blown out by Virginia Tech, who was terrible. Yeah. Like it was definitely building.
It's a bad stretch.
But, it's been a roller coaster of emotions being a BC Hoops fan, especially this season. I mean, coming off the preseason tournament where you beat Boise State or whatever, not preseason, but early season tournament, right?
Yeah, the MT.
And so you have that win the way that they won it. And Boise State's like a legitimately good basketball.
They were on the bubble for sure.
Yeah. Like they've been in the tournament in recent years.
That loss probably kept Boise State out of the tournament, losing to BC.
100%.
Which is funny in hindsight. Yeah.
But so coming off that win and then to have the loss, what was it, 2 days later to Dartmouth? It just sucks the wind right out of you as any sort of momentum that you think you can have as a program at that point is gone. And it's like from there, it sort of just all went in the wrong direction. And again, like Earl's a really nice guy. And I mean, look, he's done work this offseason. Like they've got some legit transfers coming in. And I remember one of the games I went to, I asked him about, I think it was the Cooper Flag game. I asked him about AJ DeBonsa, and I probably butchered the pronunciation of that name. AJ and Cooper Flag being New England guys, number one recruits in the country. I don't think either one of them ever had a conversation about even thinking about BC, which is an ACC school closest to where each of the closest Power 5 D1 program to where both of those guys grew up was BC, without question.
Yeah.
And so, I asked him a question along those lines, like, how do you get talent like that to at least consider BC? And he gave a really thoughtful, good answer. And it wasn't like a gotcha type question. I was just genuinely curious because, Cooper Flag's in the building. You have to ask that type of question.
Right.
And it was it gave me a window into like, okay, like he knows that there's work to be done here. And he also knows that it can't be done the way, like, business has changed. Like, you got to adjust. And for BC to become a school that is going to embrace the transfer portal, it's new, right? But like, that's the way college basketball is built now. And like, I think they targeted at least two guys that I think can be probably the best two players on the team next season.
Yeah. I mean,
I know this is really your beat, Jack, but like, that's sort of how I feel.
No, Tom, if you're looking to talk BC hoops, you're talking the right two
I'm
guys.
all ears.
No, so for context, Earl's first year was my junior year of college, which is 2021.
So you were locked in.
I was locked in because the previous year they didn't let anyone into Conti Forum because of COVID. So this was the first time in 2 years that we were allowed to get into the building. And in that year, I think Earl had he had 4 guys returning from the previous year, tons of strength. Like, no one was really excited. So I kind of started going as like a bit like, oh, I'm going to be the number one BC basketball guy. Like, no one cares about this team. I'm going to be that guy. And it turned into a genuine love for the program, and by extension, Earl Grant. So I was on the Earl Grant train for a long time. I think where a lot of frustration comes from.
Yeah, and he's given you reasons to be on that train. Like,
and he always has. I say to Brett, if nothing else, he always has his guys playing hard. He always has like a defensive mind identity, even if the numbers don't back that up this year. But like Tom, like what you were saying, like Earl, he gave a thoughtful answer. He knows where BC exists in the landscape of college hoops, and I think where the frustration is with a lot of fans is he always says like, oh, we're to get to the mountaintop, you got to take these steps. So, like, we're building something. And I think at a certain point when you get to year 4, year 5, you can't always be building something, you know? Right. So I think that's where a lot of the angst, the frustration from the fan base comes from.
Yes.
Especially because, I mean, for 3 years, it seemed like they were building something. They went from 13 wins to 16 wins to 20 plus wins the first time in 15 years.
Right.
And then you win a postseason tournament game against a
and then you surprise people because I mean they lost everybody, and then
I was all in on the NIT run. By the way, I was like, no, my friends were like, "Dude, are you serious? Like, no one cares, man." I'm like, "You watch, they're gonna win the NIT, man." I'm like locked into that second round game.
Yeah, Brett and I went to the NIT game because they played Providence.
Yeah, I was there as well because I live less than 10 minutes from the dump.
Yeah, I watched that game. Yeah, I watched that game with my brother who's a student there, so I got to gloat on him for a little bit.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, and you know,
so this year was a disappointment given what they did the year before, and I know they lost their best player, but like you just expected that to be, as you mentioned, you talk about the building, you talk about taking the steps. It's like you took a really big step here. How do you now take the next step, or at least take it at least stay on the same plane? But it felt like a step was taken back.
Yeah, I don't think anyone expected them to match or exceed their win total from last year, but I don't think people necessarily expected so much of a decline. But I do agree with you. Yeah, sure. It was like so many games, like the UNC game, Brett. Remember they were up 4, they had the 5-second violation, that whole thing.
The Syracuse game home too.
I was at that game. So I actually had to leave that game, funny enough. I think they were up like 9 when I left in the second half. Yeah. I had to leave that game because my wife was out running errands and her car died. And she calls me freaking out. And her car had just died like a few days earlier and we had just gotten it fixed. And the same thing happened again. She's freaking out. And I'm like, all right, I got to go. Like, I was like, I got to be a good husband. And again, like I cover the BC stuff on EEI socials kind of because it's more of a passion project, right? Like it's like I'm making that like my own work, right? So I was like, I'm just going to make an executive decision. I need to leave this game and it's funny. Like I had all these questions I was going to ask Earl post game that I thought were going to, do well for us on social, but I'm like, nope, husband duty time. So I'm then listening to that game deteriorate slowly on the radio as I leave. Yeah. And I was like, oh man, because that was, if I'm not mistaken, they hit like a buzzer beater at half to like go up 1 or 3 or to tie, whatever it was.
Yeah, I think Josh
from the corner.
He had it. Yeah, he the same guy that had in the tournament to win the trophy. I think he had a halftime similar type shot. So they had this kind of momentum going to the second half. But yeah, it was the same story, different day of like last season. Like they lost so many, not so many, but quite a few games like that where if the tide turns on, 3 of those games, we're looking at a different season. But they talk, transfer portal. I do agree with you, Tom. Like they do have some good prospects, some good transfers coming in, which I think,
the dude they got from Baylor is going to be like, I think one of the better players in the ACC next year, flat out. They got from South Dakota, the kid they got?
Point guard.
I mean, you get 2 guys like that in the ACC, the way the ACC is now, like they could be legit next season. Like I'm not, and I know I'm wearing the fan hat, right?
No,
legitimately Red Sox hat here, but like it's that again. Earl Grant showed me something by treating the portal and doing it this way, like he gets it. And like I was talking with someone that's sort of higher up in the athletics at BC, and it's like the expectation for BC hoops is that like once every 4 years you got to be making the tournament. Yeah. Like that's sort of the floor of what it should be. And obviously it hasn't been that in coming up on 20 years now, which is crazy to say. Yeah. So, you know, I think he now feels the heat, so to speak, but knows like, okay, like it's time. We gotta really do something here. So I'm excited for it.
Me and Jack talked about this. I think it was last week, but it's like, it really feels like the moves in the portal that he's made were a lot like more, you know, aggressive as opposed to last year when it was like they were like reactionary, like, oh, I need to fill spots, I need to get this, we're losing these guys left, right, we got to fill this spot, we got to do this. Where like now it does feel like a lot more aggressive, like this, they've identified where they need to get better, they've identified needs, and they've gone after it. You know, they've got a lot more size, they've got a lot more athletic, they've got some shooters. I think the point guard, and Jack is the one who has really harped on this, the point guard is the one who is really, he might be the crown jewel of the transfers or freshmen coming in. Like that's the guy, that's the stir in the drink. So
yeah,
we'll kind of see.
And bro, I think the reason it seemed reactionary last year is because it was. I think they lost a lot of guys like kind of like relatively late in the portal cycle, and in that short off season that is college basketball, like a week, 2 weeks makes all the difference in, when you're building a roster. So Earl had a long off season. He missed the ACC tournament, obviously, so he had those extra couple weeks. But he's really able to evaluate needs, and he had a much probably clearer picture of what he wanted the roster to look like. So I think he did show us something this, how he's attacking this offseason. But we'll see. We'll see what the record looks like this time next year.
I'm excited to see.
Yeah, you know what? That's why we keep going back. I'm excited.
Exactly.
It'll at the very least, it'll be a much more fun product to watch than last year.
Yeah.
Gives you guys something to talk about. That's for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. You got the Baylor kid, the Forte, the point guard, Donald Hand, most improved player in the ACC. So there's something there. There. So
no, and it's good that he's coming back too. Like he's a guy.
That is big. That is big.
Yeah. Like to retain a guy like that. Like he's got real talent. He could have gone maybe like a tier lower, like maybe like an Atlantic 10 type team, and been a real dude, right? But no, he's staying. So
yeah,
good for him.
I think with all the people that they've retained too, like they retained the right people, where it's not like last year where they were just, trying to keep whoever would stay. With, we love Chaz on this show, but like Chaz is like the perfect example of a guy who it's like, he stayed last year because they had to keep him. They had to keep guys like that. Whereas like this year, I think Earl was able to have real conversations with each one of them. You look at Chaz, Dion Brown, Josh Beadle, the guys that I'm sure he probably asked nicely that they should probably enter the portal. So it's like they don't have to.
And to go back to Bill O'Brien for a second, because I think Earl maybe tapped into this, and maybe him and Bill had a conversation. Bill does a really good job of knowing the type of guy that's going to be a BC guy. So Earl realizing these are the types of players I need to target. These are the types of guys that we need to retain and stay here. Like, again, it's a whole new world in college sports, right? It's these bigger schools are going to have an advantage in the early going here because they're going to get the big name guys regardless, right? They're always going to have these top recruiting classes. Like Duke's always going to be Duke. But like for a school like BC, it might take a couple cycles to like understand how you work within this new ecosystem. So maybe this is the first example of that, of him kind of adopting that BOB philosophy of like, I know the type of guy that works here now for within this new system. So I'm excited for it.
I did get a kick out of it when they were releasing the videos of Donald Payne, and Hastings.
Really the only three that anyone cared about coming back.
Yeah. But I just thought it's like, re-signing free agents to come back. I thought that,
it's like the fact that they even have to announce it like that. It just, speaks to where college basketball is right now.
That's what it is, man.
It is a crazy landscape right now, but yeah.
Yeah, that's you guys both said it. I'm excited to see it. They draw me in. I think last year was when I was kind of wavering on, it's been very unrewarding over the past 15 or so years. But for some reason, we do keep coming back. And I do think it's going to make when you get to the front, because they will. Someday we might be 50 by the time they make the NCAA tournament again. But when they do, we will be there and it'll be satisfying. I don't care.
Like I talked about before, like, it's a piece of my fandom that I have this chip on my shoulder where with the Patriots, it's like, I just expect them to be great every year because Tom Brady was the quarterback when I was in the 4th grade. Like, all I know is amazing Patriot football until the last 5 years. And I've been like, why aren't they good? They should be good now. It hasn't been that with BC football or basketball. Like they were good when we were kids, but like they still were always the little brother compared to the Dukes and the North Carolinas of the world in basketball, and the Miamis and the VTechs and the West Virginias in football. Like it's nice, it's cool to like be that underdog, right? So like I think that's what's going to keep us coming back.
I couldn't agree more. And to kind of put a bow on this, has been a great episode, by the way. And Tom, thank you so much.
I've enjoyed it, man. Yeah, I'm happy to come on anytime.
Do you guys I'm going to be very honest. I didn't watch the lacrosse game yesterday. I don't have any.
I unfortunately do not follow the Boston College women's lacrosse program. I know they are excellent.
Yes,
they are.
I know that they lost, but it's my understanding that they're still going to be one of the teams that could make a run and try and win another national championship. But again, you guys are going to know more than me. And I know if we had Kevin Stone on here, he could break it all down for you. He's like Mr. Lacrosse, which I didn't know until recently. That's like his thing. But I don't follow it. So I'm not going to try and sit here and pretend that I can break it down for you. I know Matt Hasselbeck's daughter was on the team, or he is on the team. So that's kind of cool. Right. Okay. So there you go. Yeah. I gave you something there.
There you go.
I'm sure the people that listen to this already know that. But yeah, I got nothing.
No, but Tom, you're talking about BC football, basketball being, the little brother to Duke, Notre Dame, whoever. Women's lacrosse is about as far away from that as you can possibly get. Having made 7 straight NCAA championship games, it's an insane number. But to talk a bit about the lacrosse game, because I didn't watch it either, but I was following along with as it was going on with the Twitter. So I saw them. They were playing UNC, who, for context, is the only team that's beaten them this year in the regular season by 1 goal, which was an away game. So this was, for all intents and purposes, another away game. I think it was in somewhere in North Carolina the tournament was. Probably but BC, I think so. BC had, I think, an 11-9 lead going in the fourth quarter, and then they lost 14-12 or something like that. So they kind of, I don't want to say they choked, but because they play the number 1 team in the nation. But no, they're very well positioned going to NCAAs, and I think it's going to have to be they're going to have to take down UNC if they want to take home the title, which I think they can, because, they show they can, hang with them through 2 games. But
hard to beat. I think 3 times in a season, baby.
They always say pretty much every sport.
Yep.
Yeah. But tune in Memorial Day weekend. I think that Sunday could be a good one.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I'll have it on a second screen or something. Absolutely.
There you go. Yeah.
Have to do it. And then
Yeah,
Jack.
So BC women's lacrosse is more akin to like BC men's hockey than anything else, right? They're always going to be one of the top.
At least recent years. I mean, they've made, like I said, 7 straight national championship games. They've won 2 of those.
That's crazy.
Which is a crazy run.
So that's even more dominant than
definitely in like the 2000s, 2010 sort of BC hockey type run there. But it's better watch them than BC baseball because they are not doing as hot as their lacrosse counterparts. But
it's tough. It's really tough for a team in the Northeast to compete in college baseball. It just
it just seems
like regionally it's hard.
Yeah. It just seems like a different sport when you see like the College World Series, like when you see like LSU, Vanderbilt, all those, Tennessee,
Arkansas.
All these guys can play year round outside, and it's just it's different.
BC can't play till April on their home field,
right? Yeah, so it's and the guys you're recruiting are all used to playing baseball year round in the South, up north. How can you convince a guy that is from Florida that plays baseball 365 outside to come play in Boston? Like it's really hard. So I think I saw this stat once. I'm butchering it, but it's something along the lines of only one team north of the state of Virginia has won a national championship in college baseball. And it was like Indiana, X amount of years ago, like one time Indiana won a national championship once. And like outside of that, everything is South. And that's just what it is for that.
No, I mean, that's the reality of college baseball, I guess.
Whoever's listening to this, you guys can go look up that stat. It's some version of that.
Yeah. I'll look it up after the show.
Sure. Yeah. Email it to me, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Any before we close out, any Boston Pro Sports talk you wanna plug? Will Campbell, Pat's draft.
No,
Sox?
I mean, look, I cover the 4 major teams. I guess I can give you a quick hitter on each. I thought the Pats had a really good draft. Mm-hmm. I've fully talked myself into Will Campbell. I was sort of worried about the arm length thing, but enough smart people have told me not to worry, so I'm not going to worry. Yeah. And he has said all the right things. He seems like an absolute saint of a human, but he also seems like an absolute monster on the football field, which is exactly what you want.
Yeah.
So I feel great about that pick. I think they addressed a lot of needs and they got good value along the way in the later rounds. I thought getting Trevion in the second round was awesome. I think that guy's going to be really good from the jump. I think Jared Wilson coming out of Georgia could like legitimately be the starting center for the Pats this season. And you got him in the third round. Like that's great. So I think they did a good job. The Red Sox, they just need to be more consistent. And I know that's very much so easier said than done, but like it's a 500 operation. Yeah. It's what it's been for a few years. They need to be able to hit consistently and they need the bullpen to pitch better and they'll be able to, start stacking some wins here. I've felt good about where it's been so far. Like I've seen enough good things to feel like this team can go on a run at some point this year.
Yeah.
It just needs to start clicking. And we all kind of know it. I see you got a Phillies hat on. I know Brett's a big Red Sox fan. So like we've all seen it. Like there's a certain point in a baseball season where a team it clicks. And maybe it was Jarren Duran stealing home the other day where it's like, that's the moment where it just takes off. So that's my Bruins. I mean, that's my Red Sox take. My Bruins take. Man, that press conference the other day was tough. I don't know if you guys were locked in on that, but it was a tough listen. There's just like no accountability at all for how things have gone. It's amazing. I saw the rumor floated around like, because Mike Sullivan is now available. Like, could he be the guy for the Bruins?
He was here way back in the day too.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good hire, honestly.
Yeah.
And he's a local guy. Like, do it. Like, they need to get a commanding voice back in that room, clearly.
Yes.
But I mean, more importantly, like, they need Swayman to play like a top 5 goalie the way he was played, the way he was paid. I personally put a lot of last season on Swayman not playing the way that he should have. But like, look, maybe he's not that guy. Like, you know, he split a lot of time with Allmark through all of his career until this year. And then he was handed the keys and all kind of fell apart. And for the Celtics, just close it out on Tuesday, please. Just this Orlando team is like out for blood. Like they want to hurt you. They realize that this is the only way that they can win is to just beat you up. So like, just get out of there unscathed with no serious injuries, please. Like they just need, it's funny. Like they are clearly a much better team than Orlando. So it's not even like I'm saying like, please beat them. It's like, I know the Celtics can beat them. Just go out and do it. So then they don't get to have another game of beating on you while you're trying to brace yourself for this long playoff run. I mean, that thing with Porzingis the other night when he came out with the blood gushing down his face, and I was in the garden for it. It was so cool that he just embraced that moment the way that he did, but also like, let's not have that happen again. You know, like.
I'm sure Joe Mazzulla would disagree with you. I'm sure Joe Mazzulla.
Oh, Mazzulla loved it. He literally said in the post game that he liked watching Porzingis bleed on the court. Like he liked it. He's a sicko. He's an absolute sicko. But I love it. I love the Celtics.
Are you in the press conferences for those?
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's sick.
It's fun.
Yeah, they're in an interesting spot because I mean, I'm a more of an NBA fan than most of my friends. I think, but
are you a Sixers fan?
Yeah, he is.
I am. Yes, very, very. Talk about little brother.
Sorry to hear that.
Hey, man, it happens. But no, the whole leading 3-1. If you can't close it out on home court, then you got to go back for Game 6. Then it becomes a whole thing. Like
takes a lot out of you. Yeah.
You need this Game 5. Really,
just close it. End it.
Yeah. So
but that's all I got. I guess. And if people want to follow me on Twitter at your boy TC Fresh, that's YABOI TC Fresh. It's another conversation for another day. Same handle on Instagram if that's your jam. I've got a Facebook. If you just search Tommy Freeze Pops, you'll find me on Facebook. That's another conversation for another day. So. Yeah. Thanks for having me, guys. This has been great. I love talking BC. I don't get to do it enough. So anytime you want to have me, feel free.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Tom. Yeah,
long overdue. Thank you. That's gonna wrap up episode 23. Yeah, episode 23 in the books. And go Eagles.
Go Eagles.